The easiest way to think about solar flares and coronal mass ejections, or CMEs for short, is that they're two sides to the same coin. So the way I like to think of it is like a hot air balloon rising from the surface of the Earth up into the atmosphere. So in this case, here's our hot air balloon, and our hot air balloon represents a blob of material that's suspended in the corona in what we call a coronal loop. And these loops are generally large. They're larger than the diameter of the Earth, and they're filled with hot million-degree gases that are trapped inside of these loops. So here we have our hot air balloon that represents our coronal loop, tethered to the sun using magnetic fields. So in this scenario, our magnetic fields are represented by the ropes that are holding our hot air balloon down onto the ground. What happens if our tethers get really wound up, or if there's a lot of stress put on them, so they start to fray and they start to snap? That's our solar flare. So a solar flare is a release of energy, and this is seen generally as a flash of light. So a solar flare doesn't ever really leave the sun. It's the sudden release of energy that results in a very quick and very powerful flash of light. Now, as our tethers begin to fray and they begin to snap, our hot air balloon begins to rise. And in this case, the hot air balloon represents our coronal mass ejection. So this is literally an ejection of coronal material. It also includes magnetic fields, but it's the stuff, it's the material that leaves the sun and propagates out through space. So now we have our hot air balloon that has been released by its tethers, that is rising up into the atmosphere, which represents our coronal mass ejection. And as you can see, our flare is over. The release of energy happens at the beginning, where the tethers are broken and they're frayed, and that's the solar flare. And then as our hot air balloon is rising away from the surface, and that's the coronal mass ejection, or the ejection of coronal material and magnetic field.